Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Chanel Show. So, as you can tell from the title and the thumbnail, this is Disneyland tips and tricks, specifically my 18 ways to make Disneyland better. And surprise, we're a week early with videos going back up. But before I get into the video, I feel like I need to do a disclaimer. Now, these are, by sharing these tips, by sharing these tricks for Disneyland, I'm not saying you have to do these to have a good time at Disneyland. The nice thing, the fun thing about Disneyland is that you can do it however which way and still have a great time. For me, these are ways that have worked for me and my family and my friends. I've been going to Disneyland for just under 30 years, and there are people in my life who've been going for way longer than me. And so it's like, this is just like a collected list of 18 things that we do to make it better for us. And a lot of these can apply for either a single day trip or 2+ day trip. However, it doesn't matter the length of your trip. You can still apply these in any capacity to your Disney trip. So, if you want me to do more Disneyland tips, tricks videos in the future, let me know. But these are my 18 basic foundation ways to try to make my Disneyland trip better. I do have this list of tips and tricks down below in the description. I just have like the basic ones, but I do explain it a little bit in this video. So, which is the point of the video. Okay. Trick number one for a Disneyland trip is bring snacks. Because sometimes you get, like, if you're in line, you're getting a little munchy because, you know, it's a long day at Disneyland. You're in line for a ride and you just need something really quick to just munch on. Have some snacks, whether it's crackers or cookies or brownies or a bar, like a nut bar or a power bar, an energy bar. Like, have some snacks in your bag so that you can access it if you can't get out of the line very easily to get a snack. And honestly, I think they're no longer allowing, or they're being a lot stricter about holding places in line. So it's like they're making it a little bit harder for 1 or 2 people to step out of line and then come back into line and meet up with our group. So just be aware of that's probably a little less likely now, to be able to step out of line and then come back in and rejoin your group. So just have some snacks handy. And like, yes, this is also like a financial thing. So it's like you're spending less on snacks. I'm not saying to don't buy snacks at Disneyland, because we're all going to do it. I love buying my popcorn. I love buying my Dole Whip. Like, we're going to buy our snacks. But just have something, like, bring snacks that are easy to store in your bag. You can also just buy snacks at the park and put them in your bag, and then that way it's like a little bit easier. But just like as an easy quick fix in a line when you can't easily get out of it, have snacks in your bag. Ooh, 1 second. Now, the next one, kind of in a similar vein, but try to bring a meal in a cooler lunchbox, and a lunchbox that stays cool, and preferably a meal that doesn't necessarily have to be fridged. Just because it's like, I would say this is more so if it's like a single day trip, especially if it's like your first time going or a family member's first time going. It makes it a little bit easier to have a meal already prepped and ready to eat without having to think about like, oh, what am I going to eat for lunch? Oh, I already had lunch. What am I going to eat for dinner? It makes it a little bit easier without having to think about it too much. Again, I'm not saying that you absolutely have to bring a meal to Disneyland. I'm thinking like sandwiches. I'm thinking like wraps that are a little bit easier to, like sandwich wraps that are a little bit easier to not be fridged. And again, I'm not saying you have to do this. But again, it makes it easier for a place that's already very overstimulating, even for people who aren't neurodivergent. It can be overstimulating. So think about that one at the very least, because like, ease aside, convenience aside, it does leave you more money to spend on snacks, to spend on merchandise, to spend on novelty snacks and drinks and items. So there's that. Tip trick number 3 is download the Disneyland app. I didn't put this one first just because it's like, it's so obvious, but at the same time it needed to be in the top 3 because of how obvious it is. But download the Disneyland app. It makes it so much more easier and just much more convenient, especially with Lightning Lane. Like, it makes it easy, it makes it convenient. The 4th tip is mobile order when and where possible, and this comes in so handy with the Disneyland app, which is why it's right after the Disneyland app tip trick. Mobile order when and where possible, because for the quick service places that offer mobile order, it makes the line, it makes the wait, it doesn't always make it shorter, but it makes it easier so that you don't have to wait in the actual physical line, especially if it's just a snack that you want kind of quickly. So the 5th tip trick is to have portable chargers and cords if necessary, and then depending on the size of your group, you'll want at minimum 2. Again, depending on the size of your group, you might need 3, you might just need 2, you might need more than 3. So it makes it easy, it keeps it easy to keep your phone charged, and basically at the end of the day, you want to be charging your phone when and wherever possible. Like, it doesn't matter, you can charge your phone no matter what no matter how much charge you have left, no matter what time of the day it is. Like, just charge your phone, have chargers available so that if it starts getting a little bit low, you can give it a little bit more juice. And also, I don't include this here, but if you're in a group of, let's say your trip is like 1 or 2 days and you're in a group of a few people, this is easier in groups of like 2 to 3 max 3. But if possible, like, again, I didn't include it here, I'll include it as a bonus tip and trick, but in your group, scan each other's tickets, because like, it's unlikely given how accessible chargers and charging ports are, but scan each other's tickets, because that'll make it easier. Like, if someone's phone dies, or if you have 2 people whose phone dies, then your tickets are still on somebody else's phone and in somebody else's Disneyland app, and then that, like, if you need to get back into the park, and your phone died before you could get back into the park and before you can like meet up with someone, or if you need to book your next Lightning Lane but your phone died, it's on someone else's phone. So, you know, never mind, I'm not going to say that. I'll include that as a bonus tip and trick. One moment, let me write it down. Okay, so the next one, I feel like a lot of people say this, but the next one, reusable water bottles. Like, I feel like a lot of people say this, but not enough people say this. Like, I love Disneyland. I know it's expensive. I love Disneyland. However, like, spending like over $5 on a water bottle that you're just going to throw away. It's not recommended to drink from one of the plastic non-reusable water bottles just because of how it works and behaves, you know. But spending $5+ on a water bottle, it's a bit much for water. And at the end of the day, it would be easier, like, as much as I hate the taste of the water refill stations, like, at the end of the day, it would just be easier to refill there, or to refill with whatever water you get at a restaurant, or if you order water, like, well, if you're ordering water, you're still ordering it, but it would just be easier to like refill at the refill stations. So try to use a refillable water bottle, because you don't want to be spending like $10-15+ on water bottles that you're just going to throw out, when you can just use something that's, I don't recommend these, but you can just use something that's reusable that you can fill over again and again and again and still have easy access to water. I need a drink. So the next tip, tip trick is to have like $15 to $20 for spare in cash for, I think it's in cash, maybe a card, I don't remember, but like have an extra 15 to 20 set aside for a locker. I always will recommend getting a locker. And oh, I need to add that one in too. 1 second. Okay, I added it in, but I want to focus on this one. So getting a locker, it doesn't have to be one of the huge lockers, but getting a locker makes it so much more easier to store things, so you're not like carrying around a bunch of merch, especially if you like don't have like an easy place to put it. Like, it makes it so easy to occasionally stop in, throw in some of your merchandise that you bought, so you're not carrying it around. So anyway, kind of like a bonus tip trick, I'm glad I included the bonus section. Bonus tip trick, which really helps with that, is having a change of clothes. Especially if you Disney bound, like have a change of clothes, like a set of leggings or pants and a top and a sweatshirt for later in the evening, because California doesn't get super cold, especially in comparison to, well, it can get cold, but it doesn't get super cold in comparison to like other states' weathers and how other states have their winters and like late falls going into winter. But it can get cold in the evening, especially after dark. And like you might want to change out of that skirt and that short sleeve top, have something a little bit warmer to wear, or even like a sweatshirt. And like you don't want to be carrying that around the park, because like it'll just be a little bit much, especially like carrying your purse, carrying a water bottle, carrying any snacks. It'll just get a little bit much. So have a change of clothes that you can put into like a backpack or a bag, a spare backpack or a bag in your locker. And then that way, once the sun starts going down, you can go back to the locker, grab the change of clothes, change, and then you're also not carrying around the clothes that you wore all day. So anyway, moving on, like spare locker, spare change of clothes. The next prompt, I just got off of recording a book tech video. But anyway, the next tip trick is extra spending cash. And this is just in case, like maybe your card's not working in the moment. Maybe their register for cards isn't working, like the card tapper part isn't working. And that way you just have some extra spending cash. So extra spending cash, it just sometimes makes it a little bit more convenient, especially if it's just like a quick small purchase. You can just pull out that extra cash. You can also break up bigger bills that way too. So extra spending cash. And kind of on that same note is the next tip trick: gift cards for your budget. And like honestly, this can apply to anyone, even if you don't have like a strict budget. Have gift cards. Use the gift cards, because that makes it so easy, especially if you have kids. I see so many people do this with their kids, where they get their kid a Disney gift card as their Disney budget, and they let the kids hand the gift card over to the to the cast member at the cash register. And so it's like that makes them feel so special and so happy to be able to be the one to pay for it, even though it's your money, if you have kids. But anyway, in general, even for adults, like gift cards can be so easy as a way to budget, because like what I did when I went last year, part of it was part issue with my card. It had been compromised, and so I got gift cards, and like on a little piece of tape, I don't think I think I have one of them, but on a little piece of tape, I had put the total amount, and then I was just keeping track. Like I wasn't really keeping specific minute track of what I was doing with the cards, but like, or what I was putting on the gift cards, because that was my main form of payment. But I was just generally keeping track, like, okay, I've spent this much, let me check in. Like it would be maybe every couple of hours where I would check in again, just make sure to see if I needed to move on to the next gift card. So just, it makes it so easy to budget and not have to worry about what's going on your card or not, and when it'll show up, you know. So it makes it a lot easier. So the next tip trick is to try to get to the park as early as possible. And this one is very much a broad one, whether you're doing a 2-day thing and staying at a hotel, whether on property or nearby, or if you're just doing a one-day thing, try to get there as early as possible to rope drop, because a lot of the lines are very short earlier on in the day. And you can get, like, my friend and I experienced this. We got through maybe like 3 rides roughly within the first hour, and a lot of people have that same experience very early on in the morning. And then the next one is to try to stay as late as possible for similar reasons. As the day slows down and the parade happens, lines get shorter. It's easier to walk on later in the day, just like it's a little bit easier to walk on earlier in the morning. And it makes it easier to knock out a couple more rides before your day finishes. The next one is lightning lane if it's within budgets. And again, this may not be an issue if you don't necessarily have a budget, but try to do lightning lane, because I am one of the many who miss the fast passes. However, at the end of the day, lightning lane is the next best thing. It makes it convenient. It makes it easy to keep track of what's next, what time it is. So lightning lane if it's within budgets. And then the next trick is to know the first and last 1 to 3 rides you want to get on. And I say this because, like, part of it does interconnect with the lightning lanes, which is why I put it after that one. But also part of it is, like, there are some rides that are important for you to get on. Whether it's your 5th trip of the year, or whether it's your first trip of the year or your first trip overall. Like, there are just some rides or some movies that you know are important, that it's just like, I need to get on this. Like, for me, it's not a ride, but like for me, I absolutely love the Tiki Room. And for me, it's like, my whole thing is like Tiki Room Dole Whip. I have to do that. I think I may have talked about this before, but like, if I didn't go to the Tiki Room and have a Dole Whip, did I even do Disneyland? The answer is yes. My wallet would say yes. My feet would say yes. But it's like, if I didn't do that, did I even do Disneyland? You know, that's what the Tiki Room is for me. So it's like, I have to do that at least once. I try to do it twice. But it's like, there are certain things, like, try to know the first 1 to 3 rides you want to go on first and last. Know the first and last 1 to 3 rides you want to get on. And that just kind of helps you plan out your trip a little bit more, of being like, okay, I want to try to get on these 3 rides first. Like, let's say Indiana Jones, because that breaks down all the time. What else? Galaxy's Edge breaks down all the time. And then, well, not the whole land. Oh, what's it called? What's that ride called? I'm not a big Star Wars fan, if you can tell. Rise of the Resistance. I was looking it up and then I remembered it right as I was pulling up the answer, like right before. So like, Rise of the Resistance breaks down a lot. Indiana Jones breaks down a lot. Pirates sometimes breaks down. So maybe you want to try to get on those rides as early as possible to get them out of the way. And then maybe, let's say, okay, so like in the case of, let me rephrase. So like, let's say you want to finish off the ride on Big Thunder, like finish off your day on Big Thunder watching the fireworks. You might want it, like, it would be good to know that that's going to be one of your last rides, and to try to time it with the parade and the fireworks and when those go off. It's a little harder to time that, but it would be good to kind of know, like, hey, I want to try to get up. It's good to know what you want to do first and last at the park. Again, it doesn't matter if it's a 1-day trip, a 3-day trip. Like, it's good to know what you want to do at the start and the end of the day. Moving on, know your priorities. This kind of ties in with knowing what rides you want to do at the start and the end, but knowing what lands, what rides, what restaurants, foods, snacks, etc., knowing what's the priority. Like I said, for me, a priority is Tiki Room Dole Whip. And like, for me, for my sister, a priority is Galaxy's Edge. For me, that's not a priority. So it's like, know what your priorities are. Like, when I went with my friend last year, neither one of us are big Star Wars fans. And so, like, we knew that wasn't a priority, so we could just skip that. And the first time we went in January, before they closed down the Haunted Mansion for refurbishments, my friend hadn't been on the Haunted Mansion with the overlay, the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay. So that was a priority. So we did that first. And like, again, like knowing your priorities, again, that ties in with like knowing what you want to do first and last, and just helping to plan the day. So the next one is to plan rest breaks. And this might not seem as necessary because it's like, oh, we're adults or we're older, we don't need to like rest. Like, it doesn't matter how old you are. Any Disney theme park, and I've only been to Disneyland, but any Disney theme park is on some level going to be overstimulating and going to wear you out at some points. And as adults, yes, we're better at managing how we act when we're tired and stressed and overstimulated, but we still get tired and stressed and overstimulated and cranky. So it's like, planning rest breaks can really help with just making sure you're doing okay for the rest of the day, for doing okay to get back to your car at the end of the day, for doing okay to drive home at the end of the day or get to your hotel. So there's that. The next one is planning food and water breaks for similar reasons. You need to stay hydrated, you need to stay fed. I know it's hard for me, it's hard for me to eat like when I'm so excited. This happens to me a lot at Anime Expo, and it happens to me a little bit less at Disneyland, but it still happens to me at Disneyland because it's like you get so excited and there's so much going on, and it's like you're running on adrenaline, so like your body doesn't always get the signals like, hey, I'm getting a little bit hungry, until it's too late. So just plan food, water, snacks, and the same with hydration. You need to drink water, you guys. The next one, the second to last one, 17th tip and trick, is to know where the bathrooms generally are. This might seem silly or stupid, but at the end of the day, it's like, if you really need, even not at the end of the day, like if you really need to go to the bathroom, then you really need to go to the bathroom. And it's like, you don't have to know specifics, but it's like knowing generally where they are will really help. Even if you don't really need to go to the bathroom, like it'll help knowing where they generally are for when you need the bathroom. And then trick number 18 is to be aware of scooters, wheelchairs, EVCs, be aware of them. And I've been on both ends of it, where it's like someone's cut in front of me in a wheelchair or a scooter, or I've gotten my heel clipped by someone in a wheelchair. I've been on the both ends, and I've also been on a very specific end, because usually when my mom goes, my mom usually needs a wheelchair or a scooter going to Disneyland. Like, she cannot walk for more than an hour at a theme park, so she needs it. And it kind of gets annoying because, like, especially the EVCs, like, they don't slow down quickly. They don't just stop. They'll, like, even if you're pushing on the brake, they'll slow down to a stop. Part of that's a safety thing too, but they don't just stop. So it's like, if someone cuts in front of my mom, it annoys me so much. Like, if someone's cutting in front of my mom when my mom's in the scooter, like, she can't just stop for you. And it's the same with most EVCs and most electric scooters. Like, they can't just stop. It's not like a car, or cars might maybe not be the best one, but it's not like a bike or a motorcycle or something. Maybe motorcycle's not the best one either, but like, you can't just stop it. It slows to a stop even when you're like hitting the brakes. So it's like, these people end up getting annoyed, and it's like, you're the one who cut in front of a scooter. What, like, right, and half the time it'll be like right in front too, and it's like, so just in any of these scenarios, be aware of scooters, of wheelchairs, so you're not potentially injuring yourself or the person in the wheelchair. So with all that said, thank you all for watching. Let me know if you have any other tips or tricks for Disneyland or any other Disney theme park. I've included extra links down below in the description for more tips and tricks, so check those out as well. Again, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.